Okay, so we're gonna talk a little bit about Pepe. So I spent the last week thinking about what I could do with this meme Pepe, who has this kind of interesting history on the internet. I mean, it started out in 2020 as a cartoon, and then it became part of the cryptocurrency culture. Pepe became a meme and then a coin. And then some renegades overtook the concept of Pepe and started using him as a symbol of their kind of anarchist tendencies. And the guy who invented Pepe uh, actually sued people because they were giving Pepe a bad name. And uh, I got the inspiration to do something with Pepe based on a show that I'm doing in Linz, Austria, where they uh, have adopted a piece of mine called a cyberpunk um, something, whatever it's cyberpunk arrangement. Maybe you could find that one, Luke, and put it up there.
Yep.
And it became part of their poster. So the CryptoPunk, uh, CryptoPunk soup cans, it's called. I arranged them sort of in an Andy Warhol configuration with some randomness, flipped them, recolored them. And that became an NFT that we published on FS Hash. And it was also a piece that that was donated to their collection, and they used it in a poster. So this is it. This is called Cyberpunk Soup Cans. So the idea was that this was one of probably the most famous CryptoPunks. I think this at one time this sold for $28 million. But the whole idea of going back to the 70s plotter art with repetition, the very basics of generative art, to take kind of a symbol or a drawing and to use the computer to modify it and present it in multiples. This piece is just sort of making fun of the whole cyberpunk guy. And the arrangement is reminiscent of, kind of a pop art soup can arrangement. So this piece, because it was adopted by the museum in Linz, the Caroline Museum in Linz. Uh, and they incorporated it into their poster. Maybe you could bring that poster up of the show in Linz, Luke. Uh, I wanted to do something three-dimensional. This is very two-dimensional. So I had in the back of my head, I always wanted to do something with Pepe because all my friends uh, told me that he has some significance in the Web 3D world. So I actually created a very simple model of Pepe. And do you see the cyberpunk image in this poster right there?
Yep.
So, I mean, that's how these things go. They're born, they end up getting reused in different things. I'm very happy to have this thing thrown in this collage of works with, some pretty famous other people. The show is going to be held in starting in September in Linz, Austria, a long way from where I live in Florida, but it'll have my works in it, and I'm very proud of that. So that was the genesis of the idea. Okay, it was to these pieces get born and they get used in different ways. With the cyberpunk, it was kind of a 2D experience, but now that I'm working with I wanted to do something with Pepe. So, what's the most ridiculous thing you could do with a meme? Because of Pepe's sordid kind of history, um, I didn't want to hurt the Pepe image. I wanted to both use them in an interesting way and do something new with them, contribute to the myth of Pepe. So I did some research. I did the model of Pepe. I did a bunch of crazy things with him. I can actually show you. I put him racing around on a Moebius strip. I put him in a Hollywood Squares arrangement. None of those were particularly satisfying. But again, now that I have the AI, I said, well, I'm going to create a 3D model of him and I'm going to animate him, which, going way back over the years was something you had to be at a large institution and have a lot of computing power to do. But now using an AI, specifically Claude AI, I was able to design this mem, design a girlfriend for him. Okay. So Pepe has a partner. And as I looked at the rules of square dancing is always done on a square with four couples. And traditionally, they start out in kind of a home position. There's a caller, and the caller calls out these moves, and you can see sort of in the upper right-hand corner here uh, are the moves, all right? And the order that he calls them in is called a sequence, all right? So the goal was to learn about square dancing, its fundamentals, develop a set of individual movements, okay, and then use this notion of controlled randomness to put together these sequences. And the key is, just like any good tessellation, is the next one starts where the last one leaves off. So by having them always return to the home position after a move, uh, you can, based on whatever call you make, they'll all line up. The next one will begin where the last one left off. So also adopting some of the things that I kind of learned about animation at Pixar. Pepe's eyes aren't static. They blink occasionally. That gives them a little bit of life. That's an old Pixar trick to make the eyes of the character blink. And I didn't go further making this realistic with shadows and articulation. These are, sort of like chess pieces. They move, but they don't change that much. They change a little. Interesting enough, the colors are all coordinated. Pepe's a green frog, and he's got red lips, or orange lips, and his girlfriend is physically different, and she has a flower in her hair and a red ponytail. So for some reason, I got lost into this. I lost a whole week of my life learning about square dancing, developing this 3D character, and putting him through these paces as a square dancer. Now, this is the part. Is this art? So we come down to this question of, is this a legitimate piece of generative art? And I would argue absolutely. It's all code driven. There's no data that's provided by hand like we used to do in the old day. So the characters are all redrawn every time. They have the slight differentiation of color and movement in their eyes. That's about all. And it's algorithmic. I mean, this is called double P Perpetual Square Dance. It just goes on and on. And just like most generative art, at least most of my art, once you run it, it just runs till the cows come home. As long as there's power to the computer and the program's running, the thing will run forever. So this is a different level of where I've taken my generative art. Um, Square dancing is not as simplistic as you would seem. It's a traditional form of performance art. It's very mathematically oriented. You have strict rules. It's always on a 4x4 grid. It's always done with four couples that start out facing each other. Each couple is responsible for responding to a movement. The movements have to be defined. There's a caller. The first couple in the arrangement has always got their back to the stage and the caller. And he gives them commands to move right, left, do this sachet or do-si-do, these pass-throughs. Every movement has a basic kind of choreographic sequence. And then when you put them all together, they dance. Now, this is based on 126 beats per minute, which is kind of a standard tempo for square dancing. And I could easily align music to this, but well, I mean, what's the point? There's like thousands of songs, and just about any instrumental square dancing song could this choreography would go along with, as long as it has a similar beat per minute. So again, this is my latest experiment in generative art using the AI. I couldn't have done this without the AI. It's allowing me to go from the 2D world of the CryptoPunk piece that I did. I did that all by writing code by hand and, you know, writing the JavaScript and running it, developing it that way. But the AI has allowed me to take my vision to a higher level. And, you know, I have experience in 3D, and I've waited almost all my life to be able to do 3D on my home computer, my own studio. And that's what makes me very happy about this. There's no doubt that this is kind of a three-dimensional experience. It satisfied my requirements of you know, doing something weird with a popular meme, and you know, no apologies. This is it. It's fun to watch, but I'm pretty satisfied with this piece. So I'm curious if anybody out there, you know, has a feeling about this, and whether or not this is falls into the genre of generative art. It certainly, you know, follows all the rules. But that's my late and greatest take on my latest generative art piece in contribution to the world. And I would hope that the guy who invented Pepe would see this someday and find this enjoyable. Okay, any questions?
No, I think it's very cool. But if you could just we have a few minutes left. If you could just um remind us about what is this about, the kind of like dance specifically, if you can mention that.
Okay, well, square dance is usually done at social events, certainly part of the American culture. Uh, in the olden days, when there wasn't TV and media, people would get together and socialize. When I was a fifth grader, the first dance I ever learned was square dancing. Uh, it's a fine American tradition, and it's just important to. It's both logical, mathematical, and aesthetic. It's basically performance art. So here, uh, you know, when there's nobody else to perform with, it's fun to watch people participating in performance art. I mean, I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yes.
it's important for a number of reasons. But the goal here was to create kind of an aesthetic experience, as is with all my art, and to do it with some humor, but to do it in a kind of intellectual and fun way. And I used to laugh at square dancing, but it's not easy. It's not easy. Imagine yourself as one of the partners in a couple, and some person yelling out these movements pass through do si do, left right grand, and you are the player on the stage. You have to respond in a certain way, and instead of like running into people or breaking the symmetry or messing up the whole dance, it's like you're in a marching band, and if you go the wrong way, you mess up the whole experience of the band. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned in this, in my opinion, right? My opinion of square dancing changed after I saw this, and I really appreciate the people who get together. Now, the goal for in the real world is this is supposed to be fun, and it's also competitive. I mean, there's events happen, lots of people come. There's not just one group of four performing on the dance floor. There's like several, and they're all engaging and having a good time. So maybe this brings sort of the humanity back into generative art. It reminds us that we need to work with each other. Uh, we need to find something in common, and we need to kind of experience life, with each other rather than sitting in front of a glowing screen. So, maybe there's a little feedback from the digital world back to the real world. Anyway, that
Thank
was
you.
last week's experience. I'll come up
That
with
was
another idea soon.
that was awesome. Thank you.